guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Connector. I am your connector, Ariel Levitt, and I am here to connect you to people that are doing trailblazing things in their industry or coming up with different ways to connect with their community or want to connect with you and help you or mentor you. And I get to meet so many cool connections. It's like a ripple effect. I meet one person that I get to introduce to another and another and another. And before I know it, I have this amazing circle of people in my life. And so my newest person in the circle is Dani Kushel and Kushel. I just butchered it. I just threw an A in there or R in there or something in there. I just added some extra letters. But I'm so excited to bring you on to this episode today. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's really fun. And we had lunch the other day. So through a friend, right? This is how we do our things. Shout out to Jen. Yes. And so she introduced us and she was like, you got to meet Dani. She's so good. She's amazing. You're going to love her. And then we met and hit it off like instantly.
Swimmingly.
Yeah. So Dani, tell a little bit about yourself. Just like, what are you doing? How'd you get yeah, I mean, I could summarize it for you, but then you're just sitting here and it's kind of like awkward.
You know it already. I'll tell everyone else. Well, thank you for having me. And I think you left out the part that I demanded to talk on the podcast. I cannot be tamed. I love to talk. So I'm happy to be here. My story's kind of long with many chapters, but really starts with me becoming a lawyer, which I did sort of at the same time that I became a mom. And so figuring out kind of how to balance those two lives, work those two jobs at the same time has kind of been my story. I started for just under 10 years, just shy of 10 years at the state attorney's office as a prosecutor, got to do all the fun stuff, the investigating crimes, trying cases. And then I segued into personal injury where I've been for about 3 years. I've got 3 kids and I'm trying to be a full-time present mom while also balancing the career at the same time. And so that's sort of me in a nutshell at this point.
And I love how you genuinely just was meeting Jen in a carpool line, because you have kids, she has kids, and you're just like, hey, I think you advertised for this imaging center, and I don't know, and you're like, and I'm kind of like a personal injury attorney. I think we could work together. And you just,
it was even less self-promoting than that. I forever was just kind of not present at the school stuff or there, but kind of, focusing on work and not really making conversation other than, oh, is that your kid? Nice to meet you. But, obviously now in my life, I'm kind of looking at it differently. I have a little more time for things. And I'm just here kind of actually getting to know the other moms. What do you do? And coincidentally, Jen, who I spoke to, works in this field and set me up with people like you and other people that are kind of doing the same thing. And it really taught me a huge lesson that I have always kind of tried to keep those two worlds apart for a lot of reasons. There's the obvious one, which is kind of the mom guilt and the mom shame kind of feeling like you're not present enough because you're a full-time working mom. And so you just kind of feel like I'm not welcome in that community, or it's just not really my network in that sense. But, it's a community that you're a part of. And so figuring out how, it doesn't have to be work, just getting to know people in that circle. That's what networking is all about. It seems you figured it out, but it took me longer.
But I don't even think it took you longer because I think you just were like, I'm finally going on my own. I'm doing my own thing. I'm starting my own practice. And okay, so I have to do this differently. And how do I do this? And you just kind of reached out to your community and started talking to people.
Yeah. The community I was already in, ironically.
Yeah. And it's amazing how it is just available, right? If people are happy to help you, want to step out, you kind of take you under their wing or whatever it is, right? And especially because you're I'm willing to learn. I want to know. And you're so eager about that and not coming into this and be like, this is who I am.
Right.
And I am going to I know this industry and you know this industry very well. I mean, you've been in it for a long time as an attorney.
Yeah. 3 years is personal injury. Just opened up my own firm.
Yeah. But 3 years is a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And in an industry. And also, but you've been an attorney, so you know the ropes. You've been into trials. You know how to try a case. This is not your first rodeo on this.
Wasn't as good at making the small talk with the other people, the school pickup, carpool line, school events. But that's where I've excelled in the past few months, is starting to really, without a kind of a motive or without a reason, right? Sometimes I'd go to networking events in the past and feel kind of like I was a quota. Like they had a quota and I was a part of that. The exchange felt kind of like, good, I checked that off my list. Now who can I go talk to, or how many lunches can I set up with that person? And ironically, it's when I kind of just said, I'm looking for friends, like other mom friends. And those are the people when, you make these friends, and that's stronger than, that's the strongest network you've got, because these are the people that actually want to help you and find out ways that you can help them and find that synergy. But it was a community that I was right there kind of under my nose the whole time. Yeah. As a mom, you are, from day one, digging through Facebook, trying to find answers to every single question. Why is my kid up all night? What is going on at 2 years? Why are they crying again? Like they're teething. Without that network of, through Facebook mostly, of mom groups, I wouldn't have survived. And there were a lot of other women that, just that sharing of information and kind of being there for each other, that exists huge. There's a huge network, mostly social media, but, sometimes you're lucky you find your mom friends kind of in person, but we all rely on each other in that network. There's no shaming. There's no guilting. There's like, hey, mama, you're going through this. I went through this too. And that is really what I really liked about, meeting you, talking to you, and your approach to networking. And it's much more genuine. You're really getting to know people, or people that you already know, and just kind of using, in a sense, without, the negative connotation, but, you utilizing the strengths that they've got to lift you up and vice versa. You don't need to look much further than kind of the world that you're already in. For me, that's very much the mom community and the, school communities and camp communities. My kids are older now, so, I'm not relying on them as much for advice and parenting guidance. I'm more of a contributor at this point, but it saved me. And so one of the things that I really wanted to do in opening my own personal injury firm was give back to that community. And in my world, I can help in the sense of helping them with their legal issues. But I found a lot of people who, didn't know that they would need an attorney for something, a car accident or an injury. And because I was their friend, they said, hey, let me give it a try. And man, they've thanked me. Not just because they, had a good resolution of their case, but just for someone caring and actually taking over these conversations with the insurance company, or fighting for them against, the evil insurance companies that are trying to take advantage. It just feels like you have a friend in your corner. And so that's kind of the energy that we try to bring at Kushel Law Group to the clients that we get. We're going to take over that fight for you, and we're going to fight for you because we care personally about your issue. Not just because we're saying, we care and we fight for you because that's what an attorney's supposed to say, but because I've always been the kind of person, why I want to always be a mom, that loves to take care of other people. And now it's kind of turned into a need to take care of other people. And this really is a perfect kind of world for me in that sense.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you have really honed in on your niche, and you're like, this is a community that's taking care of me. I want to get back to that community. And yes, you can service everybody, and you do service everybody.
Sure.
But at the same time, you have a little special place in your heart for.
Absolutely. I got to give back because they saved my life, that mom community.
And it's just so important. And it's what we have to remember to do with all of our communities, right? It doesn't matter which community you're in or whatever it is. It's the people that help you grow is the people that, it's just like that circle. Circle of life.
100%. Simba.
I know. A little Lion King there.
I've always been like a group think kind of person. I've always been kind of the type of, I'd prefer to be with a group than alone. I'd prefer to work on a team than work alone. And so that probably helps to find a place in communities. But I mean, it's the way we were intended to be, I try not to eat a lunch alone. We should be around each other, sharing ideas and finding ways to help each other. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. The more we can help each other, the more we lift each other up, and the more we can expand as a society, right? Like yeah.
But I've definitely learned that like it's, when I first started my firm, obviously, you think you got to get to every networking event, you got to be everywhere. And it's when you kind of really think about it, it's more valuable to be using your time at less maybe events, but with more genuine connections or people, smaller, maybe more tailored to what you're looking for, the needs that you'd have. So that's been a few, Jen, you set me up in kind of networking situations where it's groups that you think would really blend together, whether it's just the type of person they are and, personalities meshing, or just the type of businesses they work in, their industries. But it kind of takes that big daunting, like, I have to go out every single night to successfully network out of your head.
Yeah, it is.
It can be intimidating.
It is a thing that people think that they have to like meet a whole bunch of people and make a lot of connections. And it's like cold calling, you have out of 100 people, the 10 actually work out. No, it's really like out of your 10 could work out. Like 10, could be amazing connections.
Absolutely.
And one thing that's fun is like the ripple effect that happens, that like you meet one person, they know who you are. They're like, let me set you up with another person that's very similar to you. Or I know like you'll mesh with this person. You guys can probably do a lot of good things. And it's a domino effect. That's also like really fun.
100%.
To see where that goes and everything. Okay, so I do have to touch on a little bit because it's just fun. This is a fun thing. When we were talking the other day, you're like, I was like, gosh, you look like not Julie Andrews. No, it's Julia.
Erin Andrews.
Erin Andrews. Oh my gosh, I just like totally mixed up her whole
I'll take Julie Andrews too. Yeah. I'll take them all. Compliments my way.
And then it was like Julia Roberts. And so you guys, you have to take a look. I mean, not only are you like a very amazing lawyer, but you're also gorgeous. And
oh, thank you. You make me blush on your podcast.
But it's just a fun thing. I'm like, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can totally even see this even more. I'm like, how did I not even notice that the other day? I mean, I noticed it, but like,
I was telling you about my dream to be Erin Andrews because I wanted to originally go into sports broadcasting. Don't ask me why.
But doesn't she run Dancing with the Stars? Isn't she?
She is working with them on that. I wanted to be in front of a camera. I always did. I always thought that was my calling, but I settled for being in front of a jury and being in a courtroom, which was definitely scratch the itch. It's equally fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's like all those like the show Suits.
I love it.
Okay, so as an attorney, how do you feel about that show?
I love that show. I'm not here to tell you, there's inaccuracies and, this technically wouldn't go this way. No, it is a phenomenal show. At least the energy I bring, definitely pretty female boss energy like the girls in that show are giving. So for me, it feels like real life, but I mean, maybe not the same type of cases exactly, but I love that show. I mean, I'm a big TV junkie, so you got me on that.
It's so great. It's so great. So like, so why did you decide to go into personal injury? Because like in Suits, like there's so many different laws. They seem to know every single law in the book. And like, it's not really the case for every attorney. Like usually you specialize in something. So you decided to specialize in personal injury after criminal. And
why?
Yeah.
Good question. The simplest answer is it felt more of to me at the time, it felt more of a real person career than what I was doing. Not to put that down, but I had been doing it for about 9 years and it felt really fun. But I felt like maybe it's, too fun. Maybe that's not, what sitting down and working and being in an office is supposed to be. Obviously, government salary wasn't quite cutting it that much. And so I thought, before I left, I thought about what field of law I think I could transition into well. And for me, personal injury, you're really working with, I don't really call them victims, but it's the same, helping people is still the same transitional property. It's just a different set of laws, civil law versus the criminal law, but we're still working for the justice for victims who have been wronged. So it was a natural transition in that sense. But I did go first to kind of a big law firm environment that wasn't really for me, a little more like Suits, the office kind of and rules, a little had a wrong environment for me. But now I'm able to kind of craft and make my firm the way that I want it. and bring the services in the way that I think that they should be done. Being in a courtroom was something that I love doing. And for me, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. But when COVID happened, we stopped going into the courtroom. And in fact, it took them until, I've been gone 3 years, and it took them until like last year to really kick back up and going into court. They think they were one of the last to get back to normal was the court system. But that,
which is insane because it's so important.
Insane. They're still like waiting to try some things that I 4 years ago was handling. It's very backlogged, but what that can do is make you feel like completely like stifled. I felt like I was useless. I felt like I was working on cases and different matters, and then they would never come to any finality. They would never be able to be actually tried, just reset, pushing it down. And I craved being in front of people and talking to people. That was my favorite part, was going in front of a jury. So obviously, I was very much wanting to work in a field where you're meeting and interacting with people every single day, but also ultimately bringing them to some sort of finality, whether it's through a settlement or my favorite, getting to talk to juries.
You're like, let's do it. Yeah.
It's fun for anyone who likes public speaking, but the best part is you're never going to see them again. So
have you ever been on a jury? Like, have you been in the...
I've been through the jury selection process, but they don't want me.
I know. Like, once you say you're an attorney, they're like, okay, and we're done.
Right. Everyone else is trying to think of an excuse to get out of it. I couldn't get on if I tried. So. But yeah, I think I was in a jury selection for like a civil case or something. And as soon as I told them I worked in the other courtroom down the hall, they knocked me out.
Darn it.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I've sat on a jury a couple times.
Awesome.
And it's a very interesting experience.
Totally.
It's something that like, I'm grateful I got the experience. Do I want to do it again? Maybe not really.
Served your purpose.
I've done it twice. I got almost picked another time. Like, I am going to have to say I'm an attorney at this point. Like, can I just...
At this point, you've served, so maybe they don't want you again. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank goodness we're not going to knock on wood.
Was it civil
we're
or
be
criminal?
It was civil. Well, I don't know if we'll talk about it
Okay.
afterwards. It's not recorded.
I'd love to hear what you thought of the civil. Was it as fun and sexy as the criminal trials everyone loves to watch?
It was a whole experience. This is a while ago, but it was an interesting experience. I've always asked attorneys, they're always like, no, I never get picked, but I would always love to be picked. But they say very rare, I guess. Sometimes they do want an attorney.
Sometimes, if it's a different field of law. I mean, I think I've always thought I would make a great juror. I think I've got the compassion in my heart, but I also am, the biggest thing I've always been since I was a little kid is like an insane rule follower. I would tattle on a little kid if he broke a rule in the classroom. My daughter's the same way now. But that translated into me upholding the rules and prosecuting them, and I loved the rule following of it all, and I thought that would make me a great juror. But I think they didn't want me to follow the rules that they hadn't told me about. So,
have you ever learned about Enneagram? It's personality type.
Yes, but I never did the test to figure out which one I am. But I know what it is. That's the numbers or something.
Yeah. So there's different numbers that mean different things, and it's as you you're describing yourself, and I've kind of picked up on you.
You know what I am already?
Yeah.
What am I?
I think you're a 1-9, which we can find out later, but then I would also have to know you.
Write that down.
Because ones are rule followers, the rules, to, make sure everything.
Order.
And then 9s, because everybody's going to be like, what's a 1-9? I want to know. And then they're probably going to be Googling, let's just make it simpler for all the listeners right now. And then 9s are more just easygoing, just goes with the flow, peacemakers and stuff like that. So
yeah, you hit it pretty good. I think what I resonate with, and I always, I bring it up, but then the irony is I don't know much about the other horoscopes. They're called this horoscopes, the signs. I'm a Libra, and I know a lot about Libras, and I just know that I am a classic Libra. That part I know. And ironically, it ended up being kind of the symbol for law and justice and the scales, but I've always been kind of the peacemaker, the one that tried to kind of involve myself just to try to fix it and bring everybody to a resolution. I hate conflict. So pretty spot on. Okay.
That was pretty good. High five myself there. High five you.
I have to learn about them so I can assess yours. But
yeah, no, it's really fun to just kind of I think personality tests like Enneagram, or we talked about on the podcast, the elements of Chinese medicine, which are also probably like something also up your alley of like learning and stuff. I can see you like to know things in like, not just law. Like you're like, I want to know other things. I want to know. Yeah.
Well, I was a psychology major in college. I did definitely am a thinker.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting into the goods.
Where I really think, if we're going to psychoanalyze here, I'm happy with that.
Let's do this.
I really think where it kind of crafted me, and it actually made it where I think it's a perfect fit for law. But on the one hand, my dad was a very creative person. He was a musician, and I tried every musical instrument and was not musical at all. My mom, on the other hand, zero creativity, couldn't even draw a circle. So somewhere between those two created this kind of creative, logical thinker is kind of how I feel. And I find that like all kinds of law, but the two fields that I've chosen in criminal and personal injury, they're both, you really can't have to use your creativity to kind of use the different rules to kind of piece them together into an argument and articulate them in a meaningful way. So I feel like I'm kind of a good kind of strike a good balance between a different kind of creative and then the analytical side.
Totally.
That's just my psychoanalysis myself.
I love it. I'm like, share more. Let's get into this. Like,
that's all I've got as far as creativity, though. Don't ask me to sing. Don't ask me to play an instrument or art. But I've got it in a courtroom.
Isn't it amazing how like the brain works with that? I think it's fascinating how you can just like, you either get that or you don't get it.
Yeah, it's just not there for me artistically.
Well, I used to stick figures. Like, okay, let's draw a stick figure real quick right now.
I can do a mean stick figure, actually.
Like, okay, so everybody draw a stick figure as there's
cheating and looking at yours already.
Okay.
Your hands are coming out of the head. Mine is a little more logical.
Yours is fun and excited. Or your hands are going up. So in your stick figure, you're like, yay, I'm here, I'm excited. And mine are like
kind of high up and on down hands.
My guy's stressed.
Right. He's stressing.
Well, I did not know
That's a fun test. It's like the Rorschach test. The little blots, you do an ink blotter and they read it. They read something about your personality based on how your ink splattered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
That'd be neat. Yeah. You just take a pen and you just splatter, or you
something to do with with a pack of dye. I've never done it, but
I've never even heard of this. I know tea leaf reading. I know
I heard of that.
Yeah, and coffee grinds, the Turkish coffee grinds or whatever. But ink splat.
Yeah, it's called the Rorschach test. I see psychology major somewhere in there.
This is how you use all your magical powers to do everything, because then you can like console. We console. Okay, I was like, I don't know. It just sounded weird. Counsel. Yeah, all the things.
Counsel and console, but
I don't know why it just didn't sound right when I just said that. I was like, oh, that's not right. But when you do this with your clients, it's so important that you're bringing that personal touch to your clients, and you're not just having them like feel like a number, or like, yes, you're just this powerful attorney that you're going to do this, that you're going to take over, and you're going to just like sit back and I got this. Don't worry about it. Right. No, you definitely. I mean, I get that feeling from you right away that you're like, no, I want to hold your hand. Like, let's go through this together. Let's like skip it through the jump, park together, and let's get out on the other side in a much better light.
I mean, I think I appreciate that. I that is what we try to do. Our results speak for themselves. So that part, and I wouldn't say you can get that everywhere, but anybody can, get you results. I think the experience that I have gets, results people aren't expecting because of, maybe they're just using a friend, or they weren't expecting maybe those great of results, but what they really get is care. My kids are a little bit more grown up now. I've got the energy to fight like a mama bear for my clients, and that's what I do. I'm not just arguing successfully because I know what to say. I really take on that person's fight like it's my fight or my child's fight, which is why, sometimes their defense's arguments can actually feel personally insulting to me on behalf of my clients. But that's what you want. I mean, you want someone who you can rest assured that if you're not calling them every 5 minutes or you're not speaking to them, whatever they're doing is fighting not just in your best interest, but crazy in your best interest. And that I don't know that there's a lot of that out there. I think a lot of people say that, like I said, I mean, I can't see another billboard saying, we care, or call us, we'll help you. But it's one thing to say it, but you got to really ask yourself, as the person you're working with, really, do I genuinely believe that they care like that? And that's just something that anyone who works at our company is the same way. That's what we are. Good hearts are kind of hard to find. So I believe in fostering them.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages. Injured in a car accident, on the job, or just playing a game of pickleball? MedAmerica is the #1 clinic in physical therapy, occupational therapy, and chiropractic needs, specializing in sports, post-surgical, and orthopedic conditions. Located in Deerfield Beach, MedAmerica is here to help you get back feeling better than you did before. Visit their website at medamericarehab.com. That's med, America, AMERICA, rehab, REHAB.com. Mention the connector to receive 10% off any self-pay service. Today's podcast is sponsored by Pod Populi. Have you ever thought of starting a podcast? Not sure where to start? Pod Populi makes it easy. With over 20 podcast studio locations nationwide, they host over 100 podcasts. Pod Populi is a full-service podcasting studio. With video and audio production, they help you put your idea into the best podcast. Visit podpopuli.com to book your time to talk to an expert on getting started. That's pod, PODPOPULI.com, and mention the connector for 10% off your first year. Okay, we're coming back on. But I want to talk about also how you look at the big picture of everything. And when we were talking the other day about a case and a different thing, and you're like, I like to go investigate things myself, and I like to know what's really happening. And you get in there. You're like, let me climb in with you. Like I was saying, like you grab your client's hand and we're like, let's hold on, let's do this together. Let's go on the roller coaster together. And but you also you really have interest in all of this, not just like I'll send an investigator or I'll get somebody to go do that. You're like, no, let me look at it. Let me go look at the crime scene.
Yeah, one of the benefits of having a boutique law firm is that it isn't like an attorney handling 300 cases at a time, 200 clients at a time, and we have it. That obviously lends to the ability to give more time and kind of wear lots of different hats. But yeah, my 9-year career at the state attorney's office, I obviously got a lot of trial experience and a lot of criminal law experience, but I was working with the police officers, and obviously my husband is a police officer. We met pretty soon, my first week on the job.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's a fun story, actually.
Wait, can we share this story for a second? Because let's just go there for a second.
It was literally my first week on the job, and I was walking out of a building into the courthouse, walking from the office to the courthouse, and across the street literally bumped into my husband. And long story short, we have 3 kids. I'm kidding. The funny thing is we had already spoken about a case, and I thought he was a complete jerk. I was like, I would never have wanted to meet that person. So as soon as he said that's who he was, I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But I was attracted to him, and we had a lot of things in common, and we talked, got to know each other.
Wait, so what was the pickup line, or what happened? You guys bumped into each other. It was like, oh, sorry, your things fell. Let me just.
You want to be 100% on it?
Yes,
okay.
I want the story.
So I'm Jewish. It's hard to tell with the name Kushel, but my name was Steinberg at the time. I'm Jewish, and I saw obviously him in uniform, and just didn't assume on the face of it that he was also Jewish, and kind of wrote him off in my mind as a potential suitor for that reason. And so his real pickup line was, wait, Steinberg, you're a member of the tribe too? Stop. And I was smitten at that point, so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I found another Jewish police officer.
Yes, that's a rare find.
It is a rare find. But what I was saying about it is it's kind of a law enforcement family, right? I mean, no, I thought I was a rule follower until I met my law enforcement husband. But investigating and, putting together a case has been what I did for 9 years, and was around in my house and working with all the law enforcement officers that I worked with. And so I don't know how to be involved. I mean, even if it's just like you telling me a story, like I kind of want to investigate it or go there and check it out for myself. That's just a natural instinct, but I don't know how. I think you got to be the smartest person about your case in the room when it comes down to being in court. Sometimes the attorney on the other side hasn't even like been to the place where the incident happened, or even like the state. And, you know, if you lived it almost as if your client did, or if you've been there and talked to everybody on all the corners, and obviously you never know what happens when you ask questions, you get something sometimes that cracks the case wide open. So yes, I am always, one of the first things I'm doing when someone signs up with us, we're getting out there, canvassing, doing as much as we can to investigate. I'd rather not have to use investigators if we don't have to. I like to do it myself.
Yeah. That's so amazing. It's so interesting. Okay, wait. I'm going back to the juicy story over here.
The Ariel, the dating podcaster is coming back.
I mean, I did a whole podcast before on dating, and I love it, and I love relationships because it's all like, I mean, connections are relationships, and that's all you know what it is. But it is interesting that you and your husband are both rule followers, right? You guys are. I mean, maybe he's a type 1. I don't know. Like, I mean. Could be, might not. But
bring him here so you can analyze him too.
But I wonder if your kids. So, are your kids rule followers or rule breakers? You said your daughter is a rule follower.
Yeah, the boys are just straight up rule breakers, but it's hard to tell. I mean, they're so elementary age boys, and they're wild. They don't seem to morally be, you know, very concerned yet about consequences, that stuff. But my daughter has it in. That's a future lawyer right there. I can see it. Yeah. So, I mean, she's got it, you know, she's always thinking about, oh, someone shouldn't do that. They're going to get in trouble, and kind of worried for them and telling me about it. So she reminds me exactly of myself at that age. So
that's so adorable.
Maybe she'll go into something else, but I hope rather that than law enforcement.
Yeah. Then she can come into the practice with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, it is kind of a family business. My mom works with me too. So that's, you know, I hope one day. We're very far away from that. My daughter's very young right now.
Yeah. We have a little bit of time on that. Yeah. But it is interesting. Your family is also like entrepreneurs, and your mom.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's amazing. Like, you know, how your mom she's an attorney also. And then she married a guy who has a chiropractic office, and literally didn't know anything about it, and was like, great, I'm going to figure out how to run this business. We're going to take this on together, and has grown the business exponentially. And you are like doing your own thing. You're growing your own business. You're kind of like the same thing. You're like, I don't really know how to run my own business or my firm or whatever this is. We're just going to try it because I want to make my own rules of how I want my clients to feel and how I want to be able to present everything and have those, you know, do it your way. Mm-hmm. And it's like McDonald's slogan, have it your way.
Have it my way.
Yeah. Isn't that McDonald's? No. What is that?
Oh, Burger King, I think.
Thank you. Sorry. Oh gosh.
Here to help.
All right, guys, you guys. I'm going to get sued.
No judging.
And so it's really like an amazing thing that, you know, you all are, and now your sister is taking on her own path, and you guys are really clear about that in your family. And I think that's so fantastic that you guys are all very strong and able to do that, because it is a very scary thing to go on your own. And I'm sure you had that feeling when you were like stepping out on your own, like, oh my gosh, am I really going to do this? Can I do this? And like,
I mean, to be honest, you're right. I mean, my mom set a phenomenal example for me that like it wasn't even like you can do it. It was like, why wouldn't you be able to do it? That was kind of the energy. I've never seen anything else. And yeah, like what you described, that is what she's always done. She's also a lawyer by trade, but she runs businesses and then moves on to, you know, another one and does the same thing. So yeah, the example I saw was always kind of, I guess, naive in the sense of like, I didn't think that wasn't an option. You know, I didn't think that I've always been kind of very confident, and I like to help other people who are not as confident kind of find that confidence, because I don't feel like I was shown it. I just think, you know, I wasn't shown anything else. You know, this is what I know. And, you know, obviously not everyone's at that same level, but I have always just thought this is what you do. This is what a woman does. And that helped a lot when I was, starting to have a family and kids. There was never this fear or insecurity about my ability to do that. It was, of course, you manage it. The only thing I learned is, I think you can take it too far. You can take it where, you're working too hard and you're not present. And so that, but, no disrespect to my mom, who was really working all the time, but I've tried to, find a better balance of those two things. And it's possible, not only is it possible, it's brings you the best joy ever, to be able to work just as hard as I've ever worked, but then come home to a happy family and spend time with them. It's beyond joyful. But yeah, it's funny to be asked the question, because it's a great question, but it's just, to me, I've never felt, and I've never really felt that I couldn't do something. Obviously
That's
there's
beautiful.
always, thank you. There's always trepidation and hope that it does work out the way that you think. But I've always, and I mean this when I say, I've always known that if you are a good person with a good heart and you're working hard, obviously things don't just come to you. But I believe that, that the universe rewards that. And I believe that people who are like that need to stick together and lift each other up. And yeah, that's sort of.
It's so beautiful. It's so good. And it's so nice that you've had that example. Now you're sharing that example with your kids, and you're passing down that, that path that, with family, which is, it's amazing. We need more of that. Right.
Thanks.
And,
but the psych stuff, interestingly enough, I wanted to tell you, the psychology stuff comes in handy, obviously, in the day-to-day and the negotiations and the, that stuff. Because, anybody can say that they can negotiate. Anybody knows the laws and can use them and read them and do them. But knowing how to read people and kind of control an entire situation by your ability to do that is really powerful.
we were talking about that book. Oh my gosh, now I just totally forgot it. Like not the art of negotiation.
Oh, I was the one that forgot it when we talked about it the other day. The negotiation book written by Chris, the hostage negotiater. Not Getting to Yes, the other book. But yes, we'll have to look up the insert here.
We'll have to put in the show notes or something. But
great book, highly recommend.
Yeah.
Any successful person needs to read those books.
And now everybody's going to be like, you guys are killing us. We don't know what the book is.
Yeah. Too bad.
You guys, you're going to just be in suspense of the whole, the whole thing. But yeah, no, it's so important that, like you said, you can have all the tools, but if you don't really know how to use them, then you're not doing a disservice almost.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so fantastic. But before we go and before we wrap this up, I just want to know, like, what do you do? Because you have 3 kids, you are able to stay so calm, so cool, collected, and like open up another business, which is like having a 4th child. It really is.
Sure.
And like a newborn, all the things. And because I'm sure you kind of like are stressing about it slightly, not in a bad way, just like, oh my gosh, is it going to be okay? What are we going to do? How's it going to go?
Sure.
And all the things. But yeah, so what do you do to stay calm? Or what is your thing? Is it meditation? Is it yoga? Is it going for a run? What is your...
I wish I had an answer that was something that like I enjoy doing personally, but I will admit that one thing I don't have a lot of time left over for is my own personal hobbies or that kind of stuff. I posted something on my Instagram the other day, trying to cram my personal activities into the 30 minutes after my children go to sleep. And all the moms I know wrote me back being like, this is so on point. But I would say, and it sounds cheesy, but because I don't have a lot of time for that kind of stuff, I mean, exercise, working out, obviously, but my kids, being around my kids is like an instant breath of fresh air. And, anyone who's a mom knows that. But just valuing the time that you do have with them obviously empowers you to go work 10 times harder the next day. But I've always been kind of similar to how you are, a little more laid back. There's no point in stressing. Stress is a wasted emotion in my mind, I think.
Oh, I love that.
I believe that. You're going to have to get over the hump either way. So stress is literally going to do nothing for you other than deter you from getting it done.
100%. And I think like from what I get to know more and more about you is you really live in gratitude. You live, which is like the highest vibration and the highest thing that you could live in, like love, joy, all those. Okay. So it's like right up there with all those. Yeah. Yeah. But because you live in that, you just feel good like all the time or most of the time, or, and in these other things that, like you said, stressors and all this other stuff and having that stress, it's like, there's no room for it in your life.
There isn't. There's not a lot of room for a lot of other things, but there's definitely not room for that.
That's so good.
You're right.
Oh my gosh. You are so incredible. I am so grateful I got to have you on my podcast.
Thank you so much. You too.
This is the best.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Same. You have so many good things, and it's like your energy is just so good. All right, before we go, where can everybody connect with you and find you and get more of your energy?
At a school event. No. Our law firm just opened, Kushel Law Group. We are in West Boca, but we serve this whole state of Florida, virtual abilities at this point. And our website is klg-injury.com. We specialize in personal injury cases, but I tell people if you've got a legal issue, call me. You never know. I know a lot of people and can connect someone with. So really, whatever the issue is, I'm here for people. But Kushel Law Group is here for personal injury services, and really, it is the experience of the big box firms, the results of the big firms, but with that quality care, that love, that like mother's love that is lacking. So
I think that is a misconception that people believe that you can't get the same results from a small firm that you can get with a big firm.
And I don't know if it is, but I would assume, right, you're comparing the two, you would think, bigger resources, more, but not always, and I've come from there, right? So, the results are mine. And so promise you they're there.
Yeah, and you'll figure out whichever way you have to do to get those results the same way, if it was resources or whatever it is, Absolutely. Right? Because that's the beauty of a network, that you're able to call upon people for that.
Your network and your skills, it's all about the two.
It truly is. It truly is. Okay, this is amazing. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I look forward to hearing and seeing you and hearing all the comments and all the things every week, and having you guys stay connected with me. But before you go, if you can write a review, subscribe, do all the things on the podcast, it really does help. If you found something in this episode, or like, hey, I love Dani and I want my friend to listen to Dani, send the episode and share it with a friend, or post about it and tag us in it, whatever feels good to you. We are here for it. And I look forward to seeing you all next week with a whole new episode.